All right, what's up, guys? Greg Calarco here, and if you didn't know this about me, I am an insanely huge Paul Walker fan. I own every single one of his movies on DVD, so yeah, I just love the man. I think he's great. So I'm going to pay tribute to the late, great Paul Walker today by ranking his top 25 movies of all time, and it's going to be a two-part video. So this will be part one today. I'm going to release part two in a couple days or so. But this is going to be 25 to 11, and then I'll get the top 10 in a couple days. But here we go. Let's dive into it. Top 25 Paul Walker movies of all time. All right, number 25, I've got Flags of Our Fathers. It's a war movie, a World War II movie about the Battle of Iwo Jima. Unfortunately, Paul, though, only has a very small role in this movie. It's really great production quality, but honestly, it's kind of a snoozer, in my opinion. I'm not a huge fan of war movies, even though this is rated very highly by real movie critics. Clint Eastwood does a great job directing this movie. If you like war movies, I recommend you checking it out. If not, it's just kind of But for me, it's good enough for number 25. So Flags of Our Fathers, that's where that comes in. Number 24, I have Tammy and the T-Rex from 1994. This is Paul's first ever movie, really as an adult. And this is kind of the opposite vibe of Flags of Our Fathers. There's not really a whole lot of meaningful substance, but it's just kind of a good time. Paul, he gets his brain implanted into a robotic T-Rex, and yeah, that should tell you enough. But Tammy and the T-Rex, that's number 24. In terms of number 23, I've got Pleasantville. Paul, unfortunately, not a main role in this one either. It's more about Tobey Maguire and Reese Witherspoon. They get sent back into a 1950s TV sitcom. It's all black and white, and this is a really interesting. I think it's a very artistic movie. Certainly, there's lots of symbolism, and it gives you plenty to think about. Lots of themes and emblems. But Paul, his character, hilarious. So he's kind of the basketball captain, and I think you'll definitely get a kick out of his character in this one. Number 22, I have Vehicle 19. This is one of Paul's later movies. This is 2013. Paul plays a man who's recently off parole. He's in South Africa trying to meet up with his ex-wife, and he rents a car. In said car, there's a cell phone, a gun, and an unconscious woman. So basically, he's got to figure out what to do to keep himself away from trouble again. This is pretty much 90 minutes straight, though, of pure adrenaline, pure thriller, pure action. This is vintage Paul Walker right here. If you like high speed thriller, this is the one for you. All right, speaking of thrillers, number 21, I've got Running Scared, a movie from 2006, and this is another interesting one. Lots of twists and turns. There's very interesting cinematic themes here, different camera angles, lots of blood. Paul's a low-end mob hand who's trying to get rid of a piece, and this one, if you like things that'll make your jaw drop, I mean this is probably the movie for you. It's definitely not a typical movie, but really I think most of these movies that Paul is in are kind of niche, kind of a little bit out there, and this certainly fits that category. Running Scared. At number 20 on my list of Paul Walker movies, I've got The Death and Life of Bobby Z. This movie's from 2007, and I don't really know why I'm drawn to this movie so much. It's kind of silly. Paul's got to imitate the notorious drug lord Bobby Z, and I don't know, it's just fun. I mean, they don't really take it too seriously. There's action, there's romance, but honestly, there's a little bit of self-discovery as well, and Paul's character definitely kind of grows throughout this movie. Bobby Z, it's got Olivia Wilde for what it's worth. Lawrence Fishburne, it's a good one. At number 19, we've got a classic time travel movie. If you're into Back to the Future, you're going to be into this one. It's Timeline from '03. Paul Walker goes back to 14th century France, and some of the historical aspects of this movie are simply breathtaking. There's a whole lot of suspense and tension. This movie really builds as they try to go, obviously, from 14th century France. They got to get back to modern times. And Paul and Gerard Butler, they go through a lot of obstacles to eventually, I won't tell you what happens at the end, but a lot of twists and turns, great historical aspect. If you like time traveling movies, this is a great one. Number 18, we've got Meet the Deedles. This one from 1998. It kind of has an Adam Sandler feel to it. It's kind of one of those dumb movies. You have to lower your IQ just a little bit to get into this, but that's not a problem for me. I love kind of lowering my IQ and getting into, nonsensical movies. Paul and his bro, Steve Van Warmer, they get sidetracked in a national park, and this is just all comedy, all comic relief, all day, every day. This is just a good time. If you want to turn your brain off for an hour and a half, I highly recommend Meet the Deedles. All right, now we get to at number 17, Varsity Blues from 1999. This is kind of the beginning of my list. Now the top 17, they're really movies I can't live without. This is a serious one. It's about high school football in Texas. James Van Der Beek, actually the main protagonist, and there's a lot of conflict in this. Paul Walker is the handsome starting quarterback that gets hurt, though. He blows his knee out. Van Der Beek's got to step in, and this is fun, but there's also a lot of substance behind this, too. I think this begins the trend of really most of these top 17 movies now, just beautiful, well-rounded. They have comedy, they have action, they have romance, they really have everything, and that's why I love Paul Walker movies, honestly. Number 16 is The Lazarus Project from 2008. This was a project that Paul took on, very low budget, low fanfare. There wasn't much made of this movie, but it's one I love so much, and it's really one of 4 kind of emotional tearjerkers that I'm going to get into as I go along with this list. But this one, it'll hit you hard at the end almost every single time. Paul actually gets the death sentence in Texas, but he finds himself somehow miraculously alive at the end, or at the beginning of the movie. And this movie is about him kind of, it's about family, it's about having faith, it's about life after death, and I just really like the themes that it explores. And like I say, if you can get through this movie, if you can watch the end of this without getting emotional, then more power to you, but I can't do that. I love it. All right, moving on to number 15 on my list, Into the Blue. This is Paul Walker. This is Jessica Alba. They play 2 superstars. They are divers looking for some buried treasure underneath the ocean, and everything about this movie, it's just beautiful. I mean, Paul's beautiful, Jessica's beautiful. The marine life, some of the shots in this movie are just breathtaking, and it's high action, high romance, Into the Blue. This is just it's just beautiful, honestly. I can't describe it in any better word than that. All right, speaking of beautiful, number 14, I've got Noelle, a Christmas movie from 2004, and I highly recommend you add this to your holiday movie viewing movie list these holidays. Paul, he's a New York City cop, and there are a lot of different things going on. It's a star-studded cast with 4 Oscar winners. You got Susan Sarandon, Penelope Cruz, Alan Arkin, Robin Williams, and then a 5th who was nominated for an Oscar, Chaz Palminteri. So it's loaded with all-stars. Paul Walker, oddly enough, the one guy without really Oscar experience on his resume, but we know that doesn't deter fans like myself from loving him. But basically this movie, it's about miracles, it's about hope, love, God, redemption. There's a whole lot of things woven into the fabric of this movie, and it's really special at the end. This is really the second of those 4 tearjerkers I was mentioning earlier. This one will definitely get you at the end, and it'll show you how strong, having faith and really people can be. All right, we're almost done. I got 3 more for this part 1. Number 13, it's our first Fast and Furious movie. It's Too Fast, Too Furious from 2003. Paul and his good buddy, co-star Tyrese Gibson. They're on the streets of Miami. This is a good one. I mean, it's not really the whole cast, so I can't put it any higher up on my list. It's not a true Fast and Furious movie, really, kind of compared to 5 and 6 and 7. But Too Fast, it's fantastic. You learn more about the backstory, the personality of the character that is Brian O'Connor. So it's a lot of fun. Too Fast comes in at 13. Speaking of Fast and Furious, I've got Furious 7 coming in at number 12 on my rankings. This one, the last movie that was released that featured Paul Walker, 2015. This one, obviously, a lot was made since it was the final movie after his death, and it'll definitely hit you hard at the end. The emotional tribute with Vin Diesel and Paul Walker, it's very touching at the end. But come on, this is just a fantastic movie. I'm sure most of you have probably seen this one more than any other one I've talked about before, so I know I don't have to go into this one too much and the respect that it should be garnering. Finally, at number 11, I've got The Skulls. It's from 2000. Paul and his co-star in this one, Joshua Jackson, they're part of an elite fraternity, a secret society of sorts at Yale University. And this is really cool. It's a thriller. It takes you behind the scenes, kind of how secret societies work. And there's a lot of mysteries and secrets. It's a murder mystery. There's high drama, high suspense. And in the end, Joshua Jackson's character, his integrity is really tested. And Paul, I'll get into the one movie where Paul is truly the bad guy. That'll be in my top 10. But this is kind of a movie where Paul isn't really the good guy or the bad guy. He's just kind of a static character off to the side. But still, great role for him. And Joshua Jackson does a great job as well. So The Skulls, it's definitely going to make you think. And that's why it comes in at number 11 on my list, just outside of the top 10. But of course, hey, in my opinion, it is so hard to crack this top 10 because Paul Walker is that dude. Love him more than any other actor. And please be on the lookout for my part 2 of these rankings. I'm going to do the top 10, obviously. But thank you for listening to this one, 25 to 11. Hope to see you soon here on YouTube.